Today's video is going to be changing the gearbox oil. The reason for that being is, let's see if I can doing my sort of wobble checks. For those who haven't done it, Google it, sort of water, filter and oil and a bunch of other stuff like belts, bilges, engine exhaust. Check the gearbox oil. I don't tend to check it as all. It depends on what I've read. Some stuff says check it once a month. Some people say check it every single time you go out. So it's getting that time of year now. It's like winter here, so it's getting quite cold and damp. See sort of things glistening in the background. I've had little dehumidifying pots in here, but I don't think it's really doing a good enough job. You can see there's sort of like a rusty residue around here. I don't know if there was supposed to be a rubber seal that sat in here. On the engine drawing, in the manual, they showed one, but I can't seem to find or buy it. So what I've done is I've put like a little rubber washer in there because it was missing. Again, whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, I'm sure time will tell. But the reason for the gear change, the gear oil change, as you can see already, I'm going to lift it up really quickly, is this stuff here. So this is milky oil. It's supposed to be red. So this milk is an indicator that that moisture has gotten in there. Now, it's not water cooled, so it doesn't seem like it's just not going to be a leak of my sort of coolant system. But what it is splash lubricated in there. So the gear, my understanding is the gears spin round inside, lift up the oil and splash it over everything, and everything gets lubricated. In order for that to happen, there's going to be a puddle of oil, and above that there'll be a column of air. And this time of year, like I just mentioned, it's getting a bit damp, so that's getting so cool. I think the moisture in the air is condensed, run down into the oil, and the oil did not like it. But we have to sort it, A, because it's not doing what it says on the tin, and B, what that will mean is that this sort of change in the oil can cause pitting of the gears, damage to the damage to the gearbox. It'll affect the sort of way it cools itself. It can cause a multitude of problems. And since this is the sort of epic gynecology that you have to sort of undertake to get in here, don't fancy changing the entire gearbox, if I'm honest. Plus it'd be expensive. So, as is always the case, I'm not a mechanic. I'm making this up as I go along. I'm just basically tinkering. So everything that I've learnt about what I'm about to do, I've done it from reading, watching blogs and asking friends of mine who know better. One awesome place I've found tons of information is Marine Diesel Basics. This is not, obviously, as you look at the likes I get and how many people follow my page, 0. So this is not in any way a paid advert, but genuinely, Denison Berwick, nice, well-spoken guy, and he knows his stuff. Marine Diesel Basics, a fantastic book of his you can get on Amazon. It's a pictorial guide to pretty much everything that you could come across. And then what I've done as well is he sort of harps on about maintenance log, the importance of, which I can definitely see at the moment. I'm trying to pick my brains, remember what I've done, what I should be doing when I did it, and all this kind of stuff. This is like a value add. It says this as a sort of value added maintenance log book. Again, gives you great guidance as to what to look for, and then sort of like a guided way of how and when you would log it down. So what I'm basically going to do now is I'm going to try and change the gearbox oil on the boat. So mine's the Yanmar QM15. Yeah, so I'm going to be changing the gearbox oil on that, using these as an aid. Is the sort of so now that I've laid out the plan a bit, you're all wondering, well, that sounds all very well and good, Chris, but how are you going to go about doing it? So this is the plan. We need to make the oil sort of more runny. Is that less or more viscous? I can never remember. We can do that by warming it up. So shortly I'll be starting the engine. It is November now and chilly. That's a big hunk of metal underneath there that needs a compression start. So the way, the super basic info for you guys here, if you don't know anything about diesel engines versus sort of petrol engines, diesel engine relies on compression. So the piston comes up and it super squeezes this your air in the cylinder, and by super squeezing it, it creates heat, and then just at the right time it sprays a little spray of diesel in, a little spray of fuel at the right temperature. That sort of, then so we've got fuel, we've got heat, and that should be enough to cause ignition and it makes it kind of start the engine, as opposed to a petrol engine which uses a spark from a spark plug. The only problem with that on a day like today is got a lot of cold metal around that cylinder head, so that heat quickly dissipates into the head, and if you keep turning the engine over and over and over, it can flood it, it can cause all sorts of problems, plus run the battery out, and the engine doesn't really like it. So rightly or wrongly, I've used this occasionally, so I'll try and start it first of all on sort of hopes that it starts by itself. If not, easy start, spray that in the air intake and it causes some sort of explosion in there. I'm sure I should know way more about that, because I'm spraying it really and indeed nearly into the engine, but it works. Feel free to tell me how bad an idea that is, but I got to start it somewhere. So we start the engine up, then once it's got it nice and warm, turn the engine off. So after about 5-10 minutes of running, I've gone and bought this again, Amazon. Pretty much everything I've got here, oh no, it is not from Amazon, stand by for where I've got stuff from. Yep, so basically a big syringe with a selection of hoses. This will be going in through the dipstick hole, and I will be taking out the oil from it. When I take it out, instead of just dumping it in a bucket, another top tip from Mr. Dennison is that you want to record how much oil you take out. So what I've done is empty Robinson's bottle in the house, quickly filled it at 100ml intervals and marked them off on here with water, tipped all that out, so that I know how much comes out. Had to prepare for how much I was going to put back in. So the boat came and it sort of had an engine manual. If you don't have an engine manual with yours, go online, type in the type of engine it is, along with manual after it, and there's I think it's literally called like free engine manuals or something.com. You can find that, like save it to your home screen like a direct link, takes you through to it. Looking at the specifications for the Yanmar that we've got here, I'm expecting to take out 0.7, well, if it was full, which it is in fairness, it hasn't really lost any oil, it's just added some water to it. I'm expecting to take out 0.7 of a litre, so about that much. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that some of it will be really busy lubricating cogs and walls and all sorts of stuff, so I may not get it all. So to that end, what I've done is I've bought enough oil to do a few oil changes. So I'm going to class this as a gearbox flush, if you will. I'll do like 3 changes in succession to see if it fixes the problem. The only massive downside is that it'll still be winter when that's done, and I'll still have the same old way of trying to dehumidify my engine. So there's a fair chance that this is going to be a short-term solution, but I get to learn how to do it, which is good. So I'll need some funnels to replace the oil, and then the oil itself. So super important stuff. You can't go just buy in lubrication oil. So ATF is what it kind of requires, automatic transmission oil. But because this engine is 30 plus years old, it has to have a specific thing. Again, going back to the engine, the manual, in there it gives recommendations for the types of oil. One of the types of oil it recommended was Dextron. Now if you just went to a normal automotive supplier, you'll end up picking up Dextron 3. What that is a semi-synthetic oil. We need it to be a mineral oil. That was super important. So I picked this up from Opie oils online, super cheap, came within like 2 days. Bought 3 litres, so in theory I've got enough for 3 changes. There we go, look at me nailing it. 3 changes with a bit of spare. So yeah, basically let's see how badly this can go wrong. Okay, so we ran the engine for about 10 minutes. Say we, that's me by myself, got no friends. Ran the engine for about 10 minutes. Oh come on, can't talk, can't walk, chew gum. The gearbox started warming up, just sort of I just cinched all my moorings up, and I ran her in reverse because there's nothing to my rear, that way if something did happen and I started making my own way in the world today, I had some time, I wasn't going to run into the boat in front of me. So did that for a bit. Give me some. So hopefully now this is going to make it a little bit more runny. And we'll just start doing some manual oil hoovering. So you see how it's sprayed on up there, that's that splashing, I guess. Yep, so I'll see a bit warmer in there now. It's not, like I say, I was super aware that I didn't want to do it super duper hot, because that'll come with its own problems as well. Just clip this. Oh, a bit of wipe. See how there's sort of almost like a rust mark around here. I'm not sure if this would be supposed to be a big flat wash here. I think it's possibly that might have been letting some moisture in as well, you see. Okay, so from everything you're about to see, you will quickly work out I have little to no idea what it is I'm doing. Fishing for it. Oh, she's quite deep. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? So that does look a bit wet, to say the least. Very pink. So when I pushed it in, handy hints I think that came from Mr. Dennison. Don't push it in too far because the bottom of it's kind of rounded, and you could end up pushing it down around the corner and up out to the other side. So let's get that in there and push it on in. My God, so far so good. The soil does look very, very wet. But the cool thing is it kind of cleans out. So that sort of okay. Okay, good. So I'm kind of hoping that everything is so snug down here now that I haven't got the space to knock the bottle over, because that would be fun. Now look at this come out. So this is the process really. I'm going to carry on with it. Cool, so we have taken out as much as we can here now. I'm just sort of sucking air for the last few attempts. I'm just going to give it a minute or two really, just on the theory that inside there everything is running down into the sump at the bottom. So I will just, basically that's what I'm going to do is give it 2 minutes just to sort of wait for itself to sort of cool. Seems to be, oops, that's it, right, and that's your man. Let's have a look, see what we got. So as far as oil goes, it's not very pretty looking. It's gone very, very pink. But good news was, just like I said, from reading the information on the engine, I was expecting to take out 0.7 litres, and sure enough, here she is, 0.7 litres. So that tells me a few things. First of all, that the reading I was getting on the dipstick was correct. Second of all, that the information that I got from the textbook was correct. Yeah, so far we are eating progress and pooping results. This is looking really good for me. It did dawn on me, however, that I was going to do three or four sort of oil changes here today, and as all of my epically good planning, I've only brought enough space in here for like maybe I might get away with it. So I'm going to have to find, I think there's another container here somewhere. But the plan is now, use some oil, put some stuff in, let's see if we can get in 0.5. So we'll mark out what I need to put in on the side here with a bit of a pen, so it's easier for me to see. Put a little stripe across here, and then we're going to get after it. Yo, so okay, we've got our funnel in. We are ready to go. I've marked up the back of the can. Let's pour away. What could possibly go wrong here? So I have a bigger funnel, but it didn't fit in as deep into the dipstick hole, so I came out very slow. So feel free to double tap and move forward on this because it's a bit slow going. Okay, so the plan was to put in 700. There's like 100 ml less there, but on theory that I'm basically going to start it up, mix it all up, and then take it out. Probably changes over for the level of sort of moisture that was in there. So I think 100 ml less. I'm going to take a wild guess and think that might be okay. Probably completely wrong. The engine will combust in front of me, but here we are, so we don't need to win it. So plan is now I'm going to give it 5 minutes just to settle, for the level to settle. Then I'm going to just do a quick dipstick check to see if I've got put in the right amount or where I'm about. I know I put a little bit less. Then I'm going to run the engine again, mix it all up, and then do another dipstick test. Okay, so a good bit of time. We put the dipstick in, let it settle a bit, and that's just coming out now, lovely clear. So in between the two, between max and minimum. Minimum's the end of the, so there we go, I don't know if you can see there. Yep, so there's a small groove here, that's the maximum, and the minimum's the end. It's a lot cleaner and clearer. So we're gonna fire it up and turn it over. 2 minutes, let's see what happens. If she comes out of this not being that milky, we'll take it as a super positive sign. We'll hold on to the oil for another day, come perhaps back and forth, and just routine, like regularly do some oil changes just to keep on top of this moisture. Sorry, I'm just looking at stuff here that started oxidizing and rubbed everything down with oil the other day. Yeah, so what I might do then is add the extra 100 ml that I haven't put in now. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is proving to be a long video today. We've just run it for 10 minutes or so. I'm now running out of time. I've just cracked this now, it's not finger tight when I use it. I can cinch it up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get cracking because it's the school run time in a minute. So here's the moment of truth. Let's see what we've got inside here. Oh, that's okay. I thought it was all black end, but it's not black and it's not even milky, which is awesome news. Okay, so we've just sort of pulled it out and it wasn't really foaming away, which is a good positive sign. I'm going to take it as out that comes, nice and red at the bottom. So that's great. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in the extra 100 ml that I didn't put in because this level's a little bit low, and I'm not going to add any more today. That's kind of it really, but I might do another oil change moving forward. So I hope that's useful really. That's my first time of doing a gearbox oil change, and this is on my Yanmar. So any questions get in touch and I'll probably refer you to the book that I pointed out earlier. Any information, anything you've seen me do that is pretty sketchy or bad news, give me a heads up, because like I said at the beginning, I'm making this up as I go along. Thanks so much.